Hello everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Galaxy S10e and see how this phone holds up in the middle part of 2023. Now to be honest, not a lot of things have changed with this device. It's been pretty much the same thing for the last couple of years now, to be honest, but it's still so lovely to take a look at this phone. I like this phone a lot, and I personally do like basically talking about it. I mean, it's a very good phone. Now on the outside of the S10e, we had a pretty decent 5.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display. Now this was a very decent panel at that time, and I definitely do think that Samsung did a decent job with this phone overall. So it was a 1080p panel. It definitely wasn't the best panel out of the S10 lineup, but it was very decent for that price. You had a hole punch display, very good, not really too much to complain about here. You had a USB-C port, headphone jack, and a microSD card slot on this phone, which again, those things are just insane to think about. Having a phone like the S10e that actually has the type of capability of having that much I/O is so insane, especially when this thing just came out. It came out 4 years ago, so it's been a long time, but it's still super cool that we had that type of capability with this device. On the back, we have glass back, standard glass back, with a dual camera setup, and again, pretty decent setup for the most part. We have wireless charging, reverse wireless charging. We have a lot of capability within this device too, which is so cool, and overall definitely gives a thumbs up for me here. Now camera wise, again, not too much to hit on. Not too many changes. Still a pretty decent camera. You're getting 4K at 60 on the front and the back. You're getting that dual camera on the back, wide and ultra wide camera with a wide angle lens up top, and overall, it's a pretty decent camera. You're still getting lots of features built in within One UI, within this version of software. And I do think that in and of itself is a very important thing. One UI 4 actually did bring a lot of software improvements in the camera side of things. So this thing had a lot of capability there, which is also just another reason why this phone was so good. It was a cheaper version of the S10 that still maintained a lot of the features like good quality camera like the S10 had. Now software is probably the one reason why I would not recommend buying this phone anymore. This thing is pretty much discontinued with software as of right now. So just a few things to keep in mind. One, it did stop at Android 12. So that's kind of one somewhat minor thing to keep in mind. It's still kind of worth using. Like you can still use this phone and still have a pretty decent time, but you're definitely going to be getting a better experience off of a phone that is still supported with software. Things like the S21 or S22, S23, those phones are still supported with software. Even the S20 is still kind of supported with software. That might make a little bit more sense. But with this one in particular, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to buy anymore, if I'm being completely honest. Performance-wise, it had that Snapdragon 855 chipset inside with 6 gigs of RAM on the base model, but it did go up to 8 gigs of RAM. And personally for me, I again feel like this phone's performance was pretty good. It really wasn't super bad or super horrible at the time, and it was pretty much the same thing that you were getting on pretty much any flagship of 2019. Nowadays, things have changed up a little bit, and although this phone I still think is still very much, still a very impactful phone for Samsung, you have to keep in mind that this type of device, it does have a little bit of a dated chipset. Phones nowadays have a much better performing chipset inside, and this thing just really isn't as great as you'd probably expect, so that's kind of one thing to keep in mind. But things, do get better over time, and I don't think this thing is like the worst performing phone of all time, but definitely with the performance, it's just not as good of a performing phone as maybe it used to be. So to kind of sum it up, I probably would not recommend buying the Galaxy S10e in the middle part of 2023. I think there are other phones out there to buy. Things like the S21 FE, things like the Pixel 7a, Pixel 6a, those phones that are still supported are probably worth buying more so than this thing, but the choice is yours. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. The like button helps me so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.